considered a subgenre of hardcore punk scene?
Yeah, yes. So, I mean, I would say that we have roots of hardcore punk. We are from, I mean, we would kind of identify as post-hardcore, melodic hardcore. There's so many, like, just surplus of subgenres.
When you find that this gets your bed, these red mattresses haven't killed me yet.
That's a great question.
You can start.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it started with, me when I was 16. And I was just like inspired by going to local shows, and I had a few friends and that just wanted to play music. I've been in this band for 4 or 5 years now. After switching out tons of members, eventually got to Tristan. Tristan could talk about his experience.
Yeah, I was kind of not an original member, but when the band started actually starting to play shows and kind of do more writing and stuff like that, I joined a few years older than him and the original member, so it was kind of just the working together on putting our experiences into writing music. I thought they were super talented kids. I moved on, did some things for a little bit outside of the band, this band, and then came back a year or two later.
Yeah, and then I ended up joining because I happened to go to my first local show, and Northern Life played there, and I was I thought it was so cool. See, I got into music at a later time than everyone. I feel like a lot of people get into it when they're super, I don't know, middle school or something like that. And I didn't get into it until I was in college. So I was kind of going through all those steps where I'm like the intro bands, and then, I need something the heaviest thing. And then you get sick of that, and then you start to make your way onto other things. And then when I found Northern Life, it was at the perfect time when I was into that. And I was this is so cool. Then I remember, they had 4 members. It was the one night where they had 4 members playing on stage, and Josh was actually playing bass. He apparently played horrible, but I didn't even notice. I thought it sounded good.
Was that the night that our old bassist got grounded and couldn't play the show?
That's right.
This band started when they were the original members were 16 years old, and we had troubles with members getting grounded for bad grades and couldn't play. And so Josh had to learn bass on the day of a show or something.
And then I ended up messaging Josh later on and being hey, if you guys ever need another member, because I had never been in a band before, I was just let me know. And he's just give the typical answer, yeah, man, for sure, man. I'll let you know, man. And then I don't even know, some time went past, and he's hey, didn't you want to join the band? And I was yeah. And he's okay, we need a bass player. And the band was basically in shambles. Yeah, and
that's
held on by a string. I felt it was so close to breaking up. And even then we would try to practice, and some members wouldn't show up, or were super inconsistent, and it was annoying. And then eventually after some time I was no one's taking charge of this. We're not getting anything done. So I kind of went into dad mode, and I was all right. Cuz I'm 25, so I'm the oldest. I was all right, let's try to get something done out of this so that when you leave, you feel you actually did something. I guess I'm kind of the dad.
Like I said, I played with another band before. We had played a few times together in the past, Northern Life and this other band. Then the band I was in ended. They were looking for a drummer, and at the time, I was going to school up at UMass Lowell, and they messaged me, and so I just started to kind of come, and it just worked out. So it's been about a year and a half.
They said I dead bed for earlier days. Mommy, your beauty.
How does your lyrics address issues of mental health awareness and or social change?
Our songs in itself kind of have developed and changed over the years, where our last EP kind of was a very straightforward and a very personal experience for listeners, where it talked a lot about experiencing depression firsthand, and I kind of try to make it as a relatable experience for those who are currently going through it, and giving people the chance to feel comfortable to speak out and talk to me if they feel like they need someone to talk to. I think as we're progressing, our lyrics are starting to change, because it was once a very kind of sad lyrical value, where it was kind of that experience of just being suicidal, or thinking the worst thoughts. This newer record, we're starting to confront those thoughts and just trying to push through them. Us as a band, or myself as a lyricist, is like just on like the start of writing lyrics that can truly help people. Depression can be something that really isn't that comfortable to talk about. So putting it right there in front of everybody, I feel like makes everyone a little bit uncomfortable in the experience, and they're like, don't really want to talk about it, but it's there and it should be noticed and it should be talked about.
I'll clean myself up, me. Suffocate when I say I'm back in inundation.
Now, how have you made an impact? Have you made like an impact on other people's lives?
I can't say for sure. I mean, I just don't think we have a big enough really following, but I would say that I have had like a few kids come up to me and like tell me that they really do connect to the lyrics that I write. Our band has done things for like playing shows for nonprofits such as Hope for the Day, where it's, you know, a suicide prevention program, and you know, and we always have done donations for Hope for the Days and other nonprofits, and you know, it is definitely a cool feeling. Like if I can reach out to more kids and have more kids come up to me during shows and want to talk to me about it. You know, sometimes it can be hard just with this type of music, sometimes reaching out to kids, but
What do you mean by that?
you know, I mean, this scene, I would say, has been around for a very, very long time. Definitely, like, developed and has changed over the years, like melodic hardcore, but it really has been around since, like, the 90s. And it's just slowly developed, but it's kind of getting to the point now where a lot of kids just aren't getting into that kind of music anymore, and more the less, it's more kids kind of getting into the emo pop world, which is still really cool, and, like, kind of portrays a lot of the same messages that our scene does, but you know, it's just a changing of the times is all.
I will never satisfy anybody's needs. I will never be enough for my family. My anxiety's an actual being. Segments, components, missing pieces I'll never get out of this, but again I will never look for help. What my heart has felt, my brain is lying to self. I'm lying to myself. I swear I'm a curse that only produces hell.
Would you say that playing this music, writing these lyrics has helped you with your depression, your anxiety?
Absolutely, absolutely. I feel like the scene gets somewhat of like a bad narrative of like being kind of not accepting and like this underground world, but like this is probably one of the most accepting places I've ever been in, where I felt like I could be free in expressing what I've been through. That's one thing I've just always loved, is about how loving and accepting the post-hardcore world is.
Never grow, it's time to put it out. Pull it through and hold it close.
Me, honestly, it's kind of just like expression. Kind of once I dived into it, I got really into like the technical aspect of it, like drummers like Billy Reimer.
Community was a big thing for me when I like got into it. Found that it's like kind of shaped a lot of my beliefs in the world. So this is I'm from a very small town, obviously like a backcountry, majority white, very closed-minded town. It's really easy to get like
Sucked into that.
Just listening to the rhetoric and not thinking for yourself. I've kind of found that like the community itself, like I've loved the community, but it's opened my mind to like meeting people, in my case a lot of people around the country of any background you could think of. And you kind of like learn about the issues that people that don't look like me or like have the life that I have deal with. It's really upsetting, and I've found that like this music has really brought out that like leading a charge in political movements. Personally, like using some sort of voice is something. We've used this band to donate to causes for Black Lives Matter. We've used it to donate to causes for starving people during the COVID pandemic. It's been really important to help people, and that's like my favorite part about this entire community.
They came to me at a time where I was not in a good spot, which I think is why I probably got into it in the first place. But in all honesty, I don't listen to lyrics that much. I know that's like a travesty to say about hardcore music, because that's really what is like driving all of it. But I listen to just like the instrumentals like exclusively. That's what's fun about it for me, is writing songs.
I think, like, for me personally, that the music scene and like this music world has like brought me to places in my life that I never thought I would ever be. And I would piggyback off of Nate, where I would say that I use music as like a little bit of a crutch when I'm like definitely on like my low. But I would say too, like, you know, by like saying that like you'll find yourself in places that you might not expect. I mean, Nate and I love this band called Casey, and they played one show in the US, and it was Chicago, and it was their first and last US show. They're from the UK. I feel like I would never fly out to Chicago ever in my life. I have no reason to. But we did, because like we just love the band so much. And if it wasn't for music, I feel like that experience would never happen. And like we got to explore Chicago, and we got to go to a show for one of our favorite bands and watch them play their last set and connect
and see friends from like
see
all
friends
over the
really
place
across
that
the
we've
country.
met.
I think for me that's like one thing where I feel like I'm always being put in places that I wouldn't expect, and like I'm always looking for like new life experiences. And to piggyback off of like, you know, Tristan, where he was saying how like it's hard to like leave that small town mindset, especially like you're so bound to this area, and you know you kind of could get easily locked into this mindset. But like it's definitely just like opened and has changed my mind over the years, and like has developed like some of my personal opinions about the world just from the music that we play.